TNA Wrestling has wrestlers coming into NXT. How do you feel about them taking the airtime away from NXT wrestlers?
Randy picked us
taking
your airtime.
I don't know. I think it's one of those things where...
Welcome to The Silver Lining. I am Randy Silver. I have WWE Wrestlers with me today. Yes, sir. WWE NXT. First, we have on the far side, Hank Walker.
Yes, how do you do?
On a 2
And then this is Tank Ledger.
Yes, it is.
Hong Kong.
There'll be plenty of... Wasn't sure when we were taking the governor off of the Hong Kong, so there'll be plenty of honks to go around. That could be misconstrued. Don't worry, we'll explain it.
So they are better known as the tag team duo Hank and Tank. Thank you all for being here for today.
I wanted to having us on.
So happy. I'm going to dive right into it.
Yeah.
You both are former D1 college football players. Northwestern University, Big Ten, NC State, ACC.
We'll get the calf on there.
That's a good one.
Hank does have a Wolfpack tattoo. You don't want to see where it's at.
It's a secret.
It's for the secret. That's for the secret cut.
So, Hank, I want to start with you. What was the transition like from being a football player to a wrestler?
Wow. The transition was probably... It was unlike anything I've ever done in my life. The physicality was there from football to wrestling, but it's a whole new game of us going to running plays on the field to trying to entertain the millions and millions of people that tune in each week. And honestly, that was the hardest part for me going into that. The easy part is the physicality, but the hard part is being entertained.
I mean, yeah, Hank was an offensive lineman. I was a defensive lineman, so it was naturally a lot easier for me as a superior athlete. Totally, Joe. Hank hit it completely on the head. We have been blessed our entire lives to have athletic trainers and amazing strength coaches that have been preparing our bodies our entire lives, basically. So the physical side was taken care of by the time we got here. That's the fun side. We have the tools we need. But like Hank said, now we got a whole other set of tools, a whole other toolbox, if you will, of entertaining crowds that we need to be sharpening every single day. I think, Hank, I don't know if you'd agree with this, but the really cool thing in life is that we hit these chapters and we get to be a complete beginner at something again. And I think there's something special about wrestling and being a beginner at wrestling, because not only do you have to get better in the ring, you have to get better on the mic and with your psychology and with this and with that. There's so many variables to it, which is daunting, but also the most exciting part of it.
Yeah.
First off, you can see they're very colorful characters, which is why we have a colorful background.
I love it.
The duality. You mentioned something, Tank, about you're doing something new again. It's a whole new industry you're in.
Yeah.
But yet, a lot of the cores of diet, exercise, working out are the same. How has that changed moving from football to wrestling?
I don't know if Hank and Tank have ever known too much about the diet, but definitely a little bit different. But you were saying, how has that changed from... Yeah, a lot of it's very similar. I mean, hey, we joke about the diet. We're the belly boys of NXT, so we keep the calories high. What are we, 8,000 plus right now?
I call it a soft 8,000.
I call it 16,000 as a team, whatever. But you hit it on the head. There really isn't that much of a change with those types of things. We were playing football our entire lives, and that taught us how to take care of our bodies. And whether it's football or professional wrestling, your body is taking a toll. So the fact that we're in check with our bodies and we know what type of diet we need to have to maintain our weight when we're training this much, what kind of sleep, hydration, recovery modalities we need to be at our best, I think, if anything, it's ramped up because now there's no off-season.
Nope.
And Hank, if you want to add anything about that.
No, I mean, you're kind of getting at the point I was going to get into. There is no off-season wrestling. 52 weeks out of the year, all the time, traveling around the state, traveling around the country, wrestling in all these places. And it could be easy to slip and fall back into lazy habits of not taking care of your body, not getting the right sleep, not getting the right kind of recovery, not eating the right way, and really kind of being on top of that. We're just kind of falling back to our roots of football players and taking what we learned then and kind of applying it here.
Yeah, I think something cool, literally, I think we were talking about it 2 days ago. Hank and I were talking about how, in football, you have the offseason and hey, just about every Friday of the offseason in football, you're squatting and you're squatting heavy. Your knees are going to be wrecked and you're going to be feeling it. I don't know if I'm down top camera, but get the quad. But we were having the conversation the other day. You have to be a lot more in tune with how you're feeling.
Yes.
If we have a day where we're like, hey, I'm feeling good. You feeling good? We're going to squat heavy. Okay. We don't have any shows for the next 3 days. Probably a good day to push it. But if the body's a little banged up and you got a show the next day, you got to be ready to perform. So I think being in check with your own body, and also we're great accountability partners for each other in that professional sense.
Yeah, obviously, I've kind of followed the suit of this absolute specimen. Beside I try to keep up with him, but I'm Coach Schultz.
I don't know which camera's hitting. Then we got 16 cameras, son, and get every angle.
One more question about football, we'll move on. So the grind, the football game, helmet to helmet, pad to pad. Now you're wearing nothing and you're going body to body, blow to blow. What's the day like in the morning when you wake up after wrestling?
We're not wearing nothing. We're wearing finely tailored jean shorts. Please do not cruise over the jean shorts. I'm sure you got plenty other questions in there about the jorts, but I just want to clear the air about that. Go ahead.
I mean, honestly, there's a lot. I mean, talk about a lot of similarities coming over from football to wrestling. The morning after a wrestling match, there's a lot of similarities between a football game and a wrestling match. You know, that high octane energy, the adrenaline you get from performing in front of the fans and coming from those highs and lows, and obviously, you know, getting whooped up on, as you said, skin to skin, blow to blow.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's the same deal. You know, in football, people are like, oh, it's a contact sport. No chance. It's a collision sport. And if you wrestle and you wrestle the right way, aka the way Hank and Tank wrestle, it is absolutely a collision sport as well. And a lot of times that collision will sound a little something like a ha ha. What a saying.
First one call of the day. First one call of the day.
In 2022, you both entered the WWE as solo wrestlers. In 2023, you formed Hank and Tank, the tag team partnership. What made you become tag team partners?
Started in the kitchen, or more like the lunchroom, and really, our friendship kind of just like flourished from training, practicing, lifting, working out together, and it just became a natural kind of cohesive bond of becoming friends and behind the scenes. And then they're like, oh, if they're such good friends, might as well throw them together on screen and work yourself out.
Yeah, it's kind of funny how it works out. You know, when you come to the WWE, I think we go back. When you come to the WWE, it's one of those unique jobs. I haven't heard of any others, but it's one of the unique jobs where you get a new name. It's pretty exciting. And Hank had already had his name by the time I showed up, and I was asked, by our producers and writers, what do you think you want your name to be? And my dad was always, thick on Tank. Oh, put Tank on the list. I put Tank on the list. And the next day, our head coach said, you're not going to be Tank. No way. We already have a Hank. And the day after that, I debuted as Tank. Me and Hank kind of gave each other a nod. We're like, our name's red. You know what that means. And about a week later, we were paired up as a tag team.
There's no need in fighting.
If you want to share, I think where there was a pivotal, people will say like love at first sight. I like to say love at first munch. Love at first bite.
First bite.
Not that I took a bite of you, but share the sword. Easy.
The story goes, we were in the lunchroom after a harsh day of training. All right.
Buddies by now, but not. Buddies, but not.
We're this. We weren't this or this. We're in the lunchroom, obviously, just cutting up, having a nice little small talk. Nothing too crazy. And it started when I pulled out what I had for lunch that day. I had my mother's secret recipe of the meatloaf. And coincidence may be, Tank also had meatloaf in his lunchbox. Also, his mother's secret recipe. I mean, it could be fate, it could be destiny.
We're buddies at the time, so we did what any buddies would do. Like I said, we were talking to small talk. We're like, let's spice it up. Hit ourselves with a meatloaf swap, took a bite. I swear to God, you cannot tell the difference between Mama Walker's and Mama Ledger's meatloaf recipe, and it's been bliss ever since, I'd like to say.
Yeah, does it have the same secret ingredient?
Yeah, we should have brought some today. That would have been fun.
This is not filling up the tank.
It's not bad, but we can make it. Welcome, everybody, to our 7th episode.
Thank you for the luck. You're welcome. That's their social media show. Go check it out on Instagram. Hank.
Yes.
How has the day-to-day changed in performing as a tag team versus practicing as a solo wrestler?
Going from fighting one-on-one in the ring to fighting 2-on-2 when you have someone kind of watching your six, if you would, keeping your head on a swivel, keeping watching your back. I think it kind of brought me more back to where we kind of talked about football earlier. It kind of brought me back to where being on a team. And that's just something I've always kind of grew up. I played football since I was 5. Always kind of flourished in that team atmosphere. Sure. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you.
There you go.
There's 5 people on the line. You're used to having brothers with you.
Exactly. In the team atmosphere. So I think the day-to-day kind of change of having someone to bounce ideas off, having someone to always train with, like just this morning, we got airlifting, having a partner that's always going to be there for you and work out with you, train with you, and always have your back. I think I really, really enjoyed that aspect of it.
Anything to add?
No, I think Hank hit it right on the head. I could not agree more. Like this job was a lot of fun. It's always going to be a lot of fun if you're doing it the right way. And it was fun as a solo wrestler. But when you create a relationship and then you know each other is on the same page as far as our goals, what we want for the future, and also what we expect from each other. You know, we have difficult conversations. We don't have to have many of them because we're so aligned on our goals. But it's someone who's holding you accountable. And I think going back to the offensive line, the defensive line, you're a unit that you're playing on. In the game of football, as you know, Randy, everyone has their role. If you're focused on what somebody else is doing, you're going to mess up your own. And me and Hank, in a match, in a promo, in whatever we're doing, we know, hey, this is what's expected of me right now. Hey, Hank's right there. I need to reach. I need to get to him. I know my role in this moment. And just put in it's cliche, but it's cliche because it's true. Even in Hank Tank, it's all about putting the team first. What do we need right now?
And you all did a great job putting the team first a couple weeks ago when you won your first match on NXT television on USA Network.
Absolutely, baby.
It was the Good Brothers, a former two-time tag team champions. That's no small feat. First time on network television, winning a match. They've been on it before, but you're in the locker room now. What's that feeling like when you got that first W on network television? It's a big day.
Yeah. The moment we know that we had the victory was when a little bit of something called honk honk happened. We're on the outside of the ring. We're celebrating with each other. We're celebrating with Vic, with Booker. We're having a great time doing the thing. Vic is getting swarmed by us, and he calls for security. And there's this moment, this standoff with our former security brethren. And see, Vic forgot that security is our brothers, security is our family, and we got to celebrate with those guys that understood where Hank and Tank came from, because Hank and Tank were both working security on NXT before we were ever in the ring. We truly did start from the bottom, and it was you said it was a ton of emotions.
It was a great moment, and first win is not something you're never going to forget.
Yeah.
You always remember your first.
You
always remember your first, Andy. We're definitely never going to forget ours.
Yeah.
You're in college football. You're in Northwestern, you're in NC State, you get a win with the team, but here, it's just you two, NXT fan base, and you get the first win.
Yeah.
What's that feeling like?
Party in the locker room, man.
Yeah.
I remember the first college game day, or not first college game day, first college football game I was a part of that we won at NC State. I remember just the party and the atmosphere, going back to the atmosphere. Yeah. The atmosphere in the locker room was just like unlike anything I've ever seen, and honestly, very similar to kind of what we had in WWE.
Yeah.
The party in our own little, we kind of went outside away from everyone else. You want to celebrate for the people you just beat, right? So we went back there and there's a party of us and a cool little moment that I feel like we're always going to remember.
I think it's special because we had it together. Like Hank said, when we got our first win playing football, I can remember the same feeling playing at Northwestern, getting our first win, and partying because you're with the guys that made it possible. You're with the guys that suffered with you. You know, that win versus such a formidable tag team in the Good Brothers was a long time coming. And there's a lot of blood, a lot of sweat, and a lot of tears that nobody saw. But me and Hank stayed the course, and it paid off. And that was a great night to celebrate that. Obviously, you know, we're on to bigger and better things. We're constantly moving forward. But that night, we definitely soaked that up. And it's special because we had it together, which was awesome.
And the win could have been against up-and-comers like yourselves, somebody else. But NXT leadership gave opportunity to win against former two-time tag team champions. That's no small feat. What does it mean to have the backing of NXT leadership, Shawn Michaels, the head of creative, as you continue on your upward trajectory?
Yeah. I think always having people in your corner to kind of show their love and support for you and kind of say, like, noticing your hard work and kind of acknowledging, like, hey, we see what you guys are doing and we really appreciate your guys' like you said, blood, sweat, and tears you're going to put in this, and we want to acknowledge that and show that it's not going unnoticed or unsung. Yep. You know what I mean?
My dad always said to me growing up that opportunities don't come often in life. And we both understand that, and that's why we take advantage of opportunities like that. But I also think that the leadership of NXT knows that as well, knows that opportunities are rare, and that if you're going to give somebody an opportunity to beat a tag team like the Good Brothers, two-time WWE champions, I believe 8-time world champions in other promotions, if you're going to give that type of an opportunity to somebody, it better be to somebody who deserves it. So opportunities are rare, and we believe in making the most of them and are obviously thankful to the people who put us in that position.
You faced off against Gallus and The Rascalz in the triple threat tag team match for #1 contender for the tag team titles. How did it feel to be in your most high-profile match yet?
I mean, getting, like we said, opportunities don't come often, and getting an opportunity to get an opportunity at the NXT Tag-Team Titles is the biggest thing, I think, biggest match of our careers up to that point, right? And it was just so intense. We had Gallus, who's a decorated tag team all across the UK. We had the Rascalz been wrestling all across the United States. Obviously, a recognized tag team in and of themselves. And we realized that we were the underdogs, and to get into an opportunity just to face off against those guys was a blessing in and of itself, really.
Yeah, I think the underdog mentality has been a part of Hank and I's lives our entire lives, and we were definitely viewing ourselves as underdogs because we obviously were leading into that match, and it was big. It was big in our heads, and we felt that chip on our shoulder to prove ourselves against these vets. But I think something that was cool was that the second that we were in the ring, at least for myself, the second I was in the ring, nothing else is different. Nothing else is different because, yes, it's the same ring, it's the same dimensions, but it's pretty cool when you got the same tag partner, the same brother on that corner looking out for you. So that goes back again to not only the benefits of being on a tag team, but being on a tag team that is truly a brotherhood. It doesn't matter the size of the stage, the stakes of the match. You're going to have each other and have each other's back.
From me, elbow. Come on now. From me.
Don't make.
I was in the arena that night. I was sitting in the crowd, and I felt like you were definitely the crowd favorites. As the underdogs, every time you all did a big move, they went wild. People going Hong Kong.
Great.
Definitely the crowd was on your side. How does it feel to have that crowd support when you're in the ring?
I mean, when the people got your back, I mean, anything's possible, right?
There's not a lot of words for what that feels. You know, we don't do the biggest moves, the craziest high flying moves in the world, but what we do packs a punch. And we not only want our opponents to feel it, but we want the crowd to feel it because we feed off of them. So when you're watching that video, you're seeing us rocking and rolling, and you see not only Hank and Tank, honk, honk, but you see the entire NXT arena hit that honk, honk after we lay a big blow. That was a special moment for sure because they mean the world to us.
I think that just connection goes both ways because I feel like we remember what it's like to sit in the stands and watch. You know, we never kind of forget where we come from. We never forget our roots, and I feel like our connection with the crowd that we're forming is kind of founded in that, and I think that moment is what makes it more special than anything.
Yeah. Hank, I had a chance to talk to you after that match when you told me that may have been the biggest adrenaline high you ever felt, and you were coming down from it. I mean, you played football in front of 60,000 fans, massive stadiums. What is the difference of being in the ring and feeling that adrenaline than being on a football field?
Yeah, I think going back to, I was at the offensive line, right? And I was one of 5 on the field. And obviously, the entire time since I was 5 years old, I never touched the ball in a game my entire life, right? No one was ever looking at me or cheering for me.
No fumble rooskies?
No fumble rooskies, nothing like that, right? So obviously, whenever the crowd would react to the game, obviously I was a part of it, and I took pride in my role on the field, but they were reacting to someone else scoring or someone else throwing the ball, someone else getting a touchdown. And it was never, while the cheers were for the team, it was never exactly directly for me. And I don't want to sound selfish and all that,
no.
but what was different then in that match with the triple threat, I felt they were cheering for me and obviously my tag team partner, Tank, my brother here. And that was something I've never felt before. Even in a room full of 350 people, right? They were cheering for us, exclusively for us. And it felt so good. And it felt like such a surreal moment that I haven't really fully been able to like feel before it. And to have that was where it just took me through the roof. And I didn't sleep much. I don't think I slept at all that night, man. I was shaking from the adrenaline the whole night. It was just such a cool moment, man. And I just really, really feel proud of it.
I agree with the adrenaline rush and the adrenaline dump and how long it takes. Because definitely did not sleep that night or maybe even a little the next night.
Well, Tank, what's the difference of running out of a tunnel at a football stadium versus running down the wrestling ramp?
Yeah, I think it's the same as what Hank just said. When you're playing in a game, both of us being offensive and defensive linemen, the guys doing the grunt work. Yes, they were cheering for our team. Yes, we'd have the occasional play, but very rarely were they cheering specifically you. Now, when we take the arena, when we come through a curtain, when we hit that ramp, it is for Hank and Tank. But I also say that's how it's different, but it's similar in the sense that the best part about taking that field was you're doing it next to your brothers, the guys you suffered with, the guys that you built that team with. And the same goes for right now. That is why it's so special. Those moments that I can't even describe right before our music hits, when you're in the tunnel, when you know you're about to go in and go to battle with your brother, that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. You can take the moments of victory. You can take the moments of defeat. You can take the moments of hitting a big move or finally getting to the hot tag or whatever it may be. You can take those and you can leave them because I truly believe those best moments are the ones right before we take.
And before every time we go out, we always say the same thing. Yeah. Wouldn't want to do it with anyone else on the planet, right? So it's a really blessing we get to do with you, brother. You know what I mean?
Early October, NXT is moving from USA Network to the CW.
Big time.
What does that mean?
Means that you're going to have to tune into a different channel on the CW instead of USA Network. CW, October 1st on the CW. NXT, CW. And awesome.
And also, the debut show on the CW is going to be happening in my brethren's hometown of Chicago. And I think that's going to be a little special moment.
I think something kind of cool about that I think rings very true for Hank and Tank is, Chicago has the nickname the Second City. It's often known as a city of underdogs, a city of people trying to prove themselves. And obviously, I think through the course of this interview, hopefully the viewers get an idea that that's who Hank and Tank are. We're constantly trying to prove ourselves. We believe that we are underdogs. We have a chip on our shoulder, that walk-on mentality, as I always say. But really, when you look at it, that's what NXT is, too. We're not on Raw yet. We're not on SmackDown yet. Everybody has the goal of getting to those big shows. And we all understand that we're going to have to push if that's where we really want to be. So it's a lot of young and hungry men and women on NXT that are trying to prove themselves. And they're going to be doing it in a city that is all about proving themselves. So I think that's going to be a really kind of serendipitous moment, if you will, Randy Silver.
Good word choice. And then the week after, St. Louis, not the Chicago.
Well, I don't know much about it. They got the arch. That's all I really know.
Never been to St. Louis. Talk all about.
But I bet it's going to be great.
It's going to be fantastic. I'm sure.
What's changed in the background of NXT that maybe the fans don't know as you gear up to go from USA Network to the CW?
I think wrestling is just more in the mainstream now. Like, we're bringing in people not from the wrestling background, like people like Logan Paul or Bad Bunny, that are bringing eyes to the product that really haven't been on the product before. And more people are watching it, and more people are talking about it, and it's becoming this social
almost like phenomenon might be a stretch. Phenomenon is it's growing. It's growing. There's a bit of a I've heard people use this word, and I agree with it. There's kind of another wrestling renaissance happening. Obviously, we had the Attitude Era and Ruthless Aggression, and the WWE has been on fire ever since those eras. But right now, wrestling's really never been hotter, and specifically NXT has never been hotter. It's hot product.
And speaking of wrestling being hot, TNA Wrestling has wrestlers coming into NXT. Mm-hmm. How do you feel about them taking the airtime away from NXT wrestlers?
Randy picked us against them, taking your airtime.
I don't know. I think it's one of those things where the more people you can kind of wrestle, the better. Different competitors bringing different aspects of the match. Hank and Tank are bringing something to a match that maybe the Rascalz aren't bringing. Yep. The Rascalz are bringing something to the match that Hank and Tank are bringing to the match. Yep. You could say that about anything. And I think it kind of goes back to the competitive mindset of like, oh, well, if you want to put us against each other, then I bet me and Tank against anyone. So personally, I think it's a good thing because more wrestlers breeds more competition. More competition, I believe, breeds more matches, better matches. And better matches just gives a better product. And that's kind of why we're seeing such a more upswing in wrestling right now.
What NXT is all about is the old saying that rising tide raises all ships. That is why NXT is constantly bringing in all these former professional athletes, former collegiate athletes, independent wrestlers, you name it, they're at WWE NXT. And TNA is just another set of competitors that is going to raise all of the ships at NXT, and hopefully we're raising their ships as well. It's all about competition. Hank hit it on the head.
Speaking of raising the ships, now you have a chance to speak directly to your fans. What's next for Hank and Tank?
Tone the news. Tone the good news.
Good news? Good news. Sleeping on the boys. Had a good sleep. That's what it's all
I think the fans were. They were sleeping on the boys for a little bit, and that's okay. We weren't on air as much, but as Randy's talked about in the interview, you've gotten a taste. An appetizer, some bruschetta, perhaps, some calamari, some buffalo wings. Maybe perhaps you've had the appetizer, but we know what you're thinking. They're hungry. They want the main course.
Yes, baby. Yes.
Sometimes the main course sounds a little bit like...
I'm full.
If my main course ever made that sound at the table, I'm concerned.
If people want to follow y'all, what's the best place for them to find you?
Him.
Instagram, X, Hank Walker, Tank Ledger, WWE. You Google it, you can find it. Also,
if you find your way on our Instagrams, or Instagrams as kid call them, you're going to stumble upon a little show called Filling Up the Tank with Hungry Hank, produced by none other than... Randy Silver!
Hong Kong.
Yeah, Hong Kong, baby. But yeah, that's where you can find us. Or on NXT, coming to the CW on October 1st at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Kicking off in the second city, the home of your Tank Ledger. Hank and Tank will be on the CW.
That's Hank Walker.
Same.
This is Tank Walker Ledger. This is Hank and Tank. My name is Danny Silver. This has been The Silver Lining. Thank you, gentlemen, for being here today. We can find them on the CW October 1st for NXT. We'll see you next time. We do it one time.
Oh, and that's the last hugging.